Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum audience. Today we are discussing Middle East and the nuclear capabilities. Why everybody is why everybody is wishing and want to attain nuclear capabilities now. It's a very complicated issue, and to discuss this issue, I have invited Mr. Hamidreza from Iran. He's a career journalist and a friend of me, and especially a friend of Pakistan and an ambassador of Muslim Brotherhood. How are you, Mr. Hamidreza?
Thank you very much, brother. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you so much. Coming straight to the question, UAE that started a research nuclear reactor in 2012, and now they are in 2020. After 8 years, after 8 to 9 years approximately, they are going to have a nuclear power plant in Middle East. And beside this, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is going to have a nuclear research reactor in this year. How you are seeing both these countries' initiatives as sitting in Iran, Tehran, and looking at these countries, how this will increase the tension in Middle East?
The right to access to nuclear energy, peaceful energy, is not something that we can say is forbidden. It's a right that is given by the IAEA and international laws to every country, which needs that. So, but the point is that the point that comes to my mind when we talk about nuclear power in UAE, and especially in the Saudi Kingdom, is that how necessary is that to them? When Iran said that I want to have nuclear energy in the previous regime during Pahlavi, it sounded necessary because Iran was trying to be an industrial country. It was trying to increase the industrial aspects, and it was going to take a lot of energy for industry. So it preferred to have some other sources of energy for the country. But when it comes to the UAE and the Saudi Kingdom, it doesn't seem like that. We know that they are consumer countries, and they just have petrodollars, and they want to sell to buy by consuming those petrodollars, and they're buying everything from other countries. In this case, the point is that these countries, especially Saudi Kingdom, are actually provoked into buying nuclear power by other countries and by other regimes in the region and overseas, or other regions of the world. Because we know that, for example, the Israeli regime or the United States are benefiting from any tension in the region, and by promoting this rivalry between Iran and the countries in the region, they can increase the tension and actually divide and rule, as the famous saying says. So that's the problem here in between, that if they wanted to use them peacefully, that would be okay. There are other countries in the region who have actually nuclear power, and they're using that across the world. There are some countries they're using it peacefully, and there is nothing wrong with that. Iran has been actually suffering from being deprived from its rights for so long, being under pressure for so long, just because it has wanted to use its own right. In that case, Iran is not against that for any other country either. But the point is that the game that they are playing is to put pressure on Iran and to add a competition, to bring a competition and rivalry in the region, which is going to be something full of tension in the region. Your country and India have had, to some extent, had such a rivalry and such a nuclear competition in the past. As far as I am following, it has reduced now, but you have suffered that tension in the past. So you know that how this competition is going to annoy both countries. So yes, that's the point.
This competition sometimes get annoying for policymakers, because you get a lot of tension and stress of unpredictability and uncertainty that is imposed on you unwishfully. So thank you for answering this. Coming to the next question, Then I'll come to the cyber attacks on Iranian facilities. But first, do you think Israel is going to attack KSA or UAE's nuclear power plants because they could be worrisome for Israel? Because it's a very complicated issue. How would you answer it? Do you think Israel
Of
is
course
going to
not.
take cyber attacks, or
As I
America is
said,
interested? Yes.
as I said, what I can see analytically is that the whole story is actually promoted and provoked by, for example, Israeli regime and the United States, because they benefit from any division in the region. So they are actually pushing Saudis toward nuclear access and nuclear power. And they know that this would add to the tension, and they are going to actually sell the industry. If they sell totally, they're not going to transfer the knowledge. We know about that. They are going to just sell and receive more money from the countries. So there is no benefit in that, unless they want to, after selling the power plant to them, after constructing them, they want to stage some fake false flag attacks and then sell some remedies to that. Yeah, in that case, there might be some, let's say, cyber attacks by some outsiders as the false flag, and then they want to sell again some other services to countries. Otherwise, I cannot see any reason that the Israelis, for example, want to stage any cyber attacks against Saudis because they are close allies to them.
I'm sorry that Iran is facing. I'm really sorry for my brothers and brother country Iran, that Iran is going under severe cyber attacks after the martyrdom of General Qasem Soleimani since 2nd of January 2020. This year has been very tough for all of us, especially and particularly for the Muslim Brotherhood. How you see Iran is planning to respond, or going to respond to this Israeli hostility and American hypocrisy? Because America is Trump is at the verge of losing his election. How you're seeing this Trump and Netanyahu's Zionist lobbies nexus against Iran and Iran's response against these nexuses and alliances?
You know, what we are facing in Iran is some irrational actors, either in region or on the other side of the world, in the United States. We have President Trump's administration as an irrational actor. We have the Zionist regime and Netanyahu, a warmongering, irrational player again. And we have some of the allies in the region, in neighboring countries. The difference is that Iran is not going to act irrationally if they are threatening Iran irrationally. So they don't follow the international laws. They are not rational actors. They do anything if they can assassinate people, assassinate civilians. They can threaten a civilian flight, as we had just a couple of days ago. There is no boundaries for them. There is no limit for them to be inhuman. But Iran is not like that. Iran is not going to be an irrational actor. Iran has proved actually to be a rational one. We have seen within the JCPOA and all the stories that we have had in recent years, Iran has proved to be a regional power who acts rationally and politically correct in the region and the international politics. So Iran is not going to adhere to, say, for example, doing assassinations or just attacking civilians, such things, doing something internationally wrong. So Iran is patient and strategically thinking something that can be beneficial to that. And Iran knows that those irrational actors, as I said, like Tel Aviv and Washington, are trying to drag Iran into a war to actually take their own agendas, political agendas, and, for example, win another election in the United States, or for Netanyahu trying to let's say put aside the corruption cases that is charged against him and other issues that he has in domestic politics. So they are trying to take Iran into a war, and it has been a long wish they have had for many years. But the point is that Iran is patient in actually retaliating what is inflicted on that. Iran is not ignoring them, Iran is not forgetting them, and is not forgiving them. But the point is that it takes sometimes patience, needs patience actually, for Iran to react to and to retaliate what has been done to that. So Iran will surely react to, for example, what we had in Natanz recently, the attack that was happened actually in Natanz nuclear facility. We still haven't reacted completely to assassination of General Soleimani. They are going to take place, but not necessarily in near future. It might take time. And Iran has always said that if you attack against us, if you damage anything, anything of us, any facilities, or harm any human sources of human resources we have, the decision of the time and place and the form of reaction would be Iran's choice.
Thank you. Lastly, I would ask you to comment on that we are witnessing a pause in the diplomatic relations of Iran and India. Because of the new trade alliances in that are shaping up in Asia. So, how you see that Iran and India relationship will look like in by the end of year or in the near future? Because Indians are very Indian attitude is very hostile, because if you see the social media campaign in Iran in India against Iran, Pakistan and Muslim countries, and these on the provocation of American and Western interest, how you see the relationship between Iran and India is going to shape up in future?
You know, if there is one country which benefits from peace and stability, it would be Iran. Of course, every country would benefit from that, but I want to actually intensify on Iran that Iran, it needs actually, dialogue needs stability and peace in the region and in its relationship with other countries. So, but it doesn't mean that it's going to bow to any form of cooperation with other countries. If there is mutual respect, if there is rationality, if there is legal cooperation, and if there is equal cooperation, Iran is going to follow that, and it welcomes that. Either it be Pakistan, India, or any other country, like for example China, that we have now hearing of the 25-year cooperation agreement. So Iran is following that actually principle. If the cooperation with India is going to be respectful, Iran is going to continue that and welcomes that. Iran says that countries have the right to cooperate with each other and need to respect each other and have constructive relationships with each other. That's the principle. And so that is also with India as well. We have some let's say, arguments, we can say, with India in one of the projects that we were going to do. India seemed to be a little reluctant on moving forward. But now that there are some other ways, some other alternatives, it seems that India is going to be more active, because Iran is not like waiting for India forever to get into the contract that it has signed, or the cooperation that it has agreed to carry out with Iran.
India was facing US pressure, and they, if I may take the liberty, and Indian diplomats actually went under the US influence, and they didn't kept their promise.
That's the problem with many countries. We are suffering from the same problem with South Korea as well. Some countries have not realized yet that they can stand against the United States and not be bullied by the United States. And they still believe that the Americans are a power. This paper tiger is something to actually show. While, as I say, it's a paper tiger, it doesn't have that much force. Iran has experienced that in 4 decades, and that it has always trying to put crippling sanctions on Iran, and Iran has not crippled yet. We are still in place, we are alive, and that's the point that some other countries have not realized that yet, and it takes time. We know that sooner or later they will understand that the United States is not the power that they can rely on, and they need to actually rely on their own national interests and be independent actors in international politics. And at that time, then it happens that there would be those cooperative and constructive cooperations that we expect.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this answer, and thank you for covering this up. Uh, Let me add one thing at the end for our audience, that Indian policy to go and to bear the pressure and go under the influence of America and Western powers is gonna backfire soon, because we Pakistanis have an experience of dealing with them on stretched on 7 decades, and Iranians from 4 decades. So we both Iran and Pakistan understand the American policies and Western hypocrisies of international relations. So I'm hopeful that Allah be with us, and will bring peace and harmony in the region and in the world, and will get rid of the warmongers soon. So warmongers, wherever they are warmongers, regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, and place, geography. Thank you, Hamidreza, for being with us and
Thank
enriching
you.
enriching our audience with your expertise. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.